Even if, say, for example, we're looking at, again, hypothetical numbers, $4,000, right? Is it mindful for me, right? For $4,000 for, let's say, 5 hours of coverage. Again, hypothetical, just throwing out a number there. Is it mindful for me to spend $4,000 on a photographer when I only have $15,000? Like, heck yeah. Do you want to stay grounded, less triggered, less annoyed, and mindful throughout your wedding process? Well then, welcome. You've come to the right place. Hi lovelies, welcome back to our channel, and I'm super excited to introduce to you a brand new series, The Little Book of Mindful Wedding Planning, Ebook Walkthrough. I have linked the ebook in the description below where you can grab your own copy. In this series, we'll explore and dive deep into each chapter. So, if you're getting married or is close to someone who is getting married, or is just altogether into mindfulness, then this series is for you. Join us every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays as we journey through the little book of mindful wedding planning, chapter by chapter. Before we get on this week's chapter, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you can never miss an episode. Together, we'll create moments of mindfulness amidst the demands of wedding planning. Hello, hello, hello. We are back for chapter 2. And chapter 2 is titled Mindful Budgeting. I mean, have you ever budgeted something and you're like trying to be so mindful? I'm like, this is me being mindful, but I also need extra stuff to keep me mindful. Am I the only one who does this? Because I would just like, you know what? I'm going to mindful budget this month, right? And so I created a mindful budget. But then I also know that for me to be really adhering to the budget that I set, I also need other things. So I guess there's a mindful budget and there is a budget for mindful budgeting. I don't know if that's you, but sometimes that's me, because I also have to make sure that I would say, cheering for myself and like pumping myself up to make sure that I stick to it. I'm going to start reading and you can follow along. This goes without saying that it will help to set realistic financial goals and be conscious of your spending. But this is also the time to be honest about who's really paying for your wedding. If you're accepting contributions and payment portions from family, understand what you're giving up when you receive this money. Hey, I'm just going to pause for a second because that is really, really juicy. And I have heard this way too many times where just like, I really want XYZ, but my mother-in-law or my sister-in-law or whoever, basically another person is paying for that specific part of the wedding. I kind of like, they already know, like that bride, that newlywed to be already know that they probably won't have a major say on that unless that was the context of that agreement, right? Like, hey, pick whatever you want and I'll do it. Like, I'll pay for it. If that was the agreement that was done with that person that was offering to pay, then absolutely great. But we know that sometimes that's not the case, right? Obviously, like, oh, you know what? I really want this. I can pay for it. Like, if you're okay with that. There's no right or wrong approach. I mean, I would argue that sometimes it's wrong, but it also depends on the relationship that you have with that person. If that person who offered to pay know exactly how important this thing is for me, say for example, if I really want a specific wedding dress designer, again, this is just like examples, right? This could be anything in your wedding. But if let's think of a designer, like say if I really want veroing, that's it, my dream, right? Veroing. Whoever is offering to pay for that, we probably have a level of relationship that we just like, you know what? I know you've always dreamed of veroing forever. I've heard you say that many times. I know that that's really what your peg is. Like, that's the vibe that you want to go for. And I would be more than happy to pay for whatever you pick. That's really a great scenario, I'd say. I mean, you will? Yeah, I'm gonna look for that dress ASAP. But there's also another scenario where, like, you know what, I really wanted to help, and I know this designer that can make something similar that you like, but I can pay for it, right? So know what you're giving up, know the context, know what is really around you, right? Because sometimes a lot of these things either create resentment inside of us or just, I mean, sure, it's resentment, but also just leaves us so unfulfilled. Like we missed that chance that we've been waiting for because of that. Now, this is not to say that you should not receive like monetary gifts because yes, receive someone gives you a blessing. Thank you. My hands, my palm is open. Please land the blessing here, right? Obviously, we want to receive blessings. We want to receive help as much as we can. But I'd say before there is an actual exchange, like if I took the money, I want to understand first what is the context of this? Like, how is this going to be for our relationship? How is this going to be for our wedding? How will this affect, like, what if I want something that you don't? Like, I don't want to offend you, and I'm sure you don't want to offend me either. So, how are we going to make this conversation work? How are we, because I really, really appreciate the fact that you're offering to pay. And I probably, like, if that's a situation, right? But if you really can pay for that part of the wedding and someone is saying they'll pay for it, maybe you might have to give up some choices that I don't know if you're willing to give up, but if that's part of the deal, then that's part of the deal. So this is not to say don't do it or do it. There's no right or wrong. I'd say be very clear on what is the exchange about, on what is this for. And I've said this to some of the clients that I work with before. I'm like, you can take the help and have them make the choice if that's what you really want to do to respect the person giving that help to you. But at the same time, you also don't want to leave yourself unfulfilled. So also, if you can, within the means that you have, or even sometimes, like, I mean, if you want to, this is such a tricky advice, right? Because like I've read way too many times already, don't go into debt for your wedding, wedding dress is just a wedding dress. Every person has a different relationship with something. Every person has a different relationship with their dreams, with who they want to see themselves, right? Like if I want to see myself in that wedding dress and that wedding happens and I'm not in that wedding dress, it's especially I'm just like, well, I work hard too. Like I feel like do I deserve to splurge like maybe 500 grand? Why not, right? But like, I mean, 50 grand, whatever the case may be. Well, maybe not that, but I still deserve to spend on myself a little bit. So just be mindful of what will cost you to resent people and that have helped you, which obviously defeats the purpose of someone helping you. Or what is better for the relationship in the long run, not just relationship with other people, but also relationship with yourself, right? Is this help, quote unquote, gonna be dangled like, like a little candy all your life? I'm just like, remember that day that I helped you. I guess speaking to your partner on whoever that person is in terms of character, right? Like, we always have some people that we know that will like bring up something they did for me or for you, I don't know, 20 years ago. Not that we're not thankful. Like, of course we're thankful, but that cannot be part of every conversation that we have. So again, just be mindful of what this is. And I always say that sometimes maybe not having that help and going for something that even if your money can't afford, but your love and your love for yourself can fulfill is better. So say you want Vera Wang, say for example, maybe you can find someone local that can make something similar to what Vera Wang does, like similar design. I'm not going to say go for a knockoff, but I mean, don't go for a knockoff. At least go for a local designer, but something that is still worth your money, that's not too far-fetched from what you really wanted to begin with. It's a happy medium between what you're spending money on versus what someone at a higher price point will offer you. But then what is that relationship going to look like? Like, I feel like I always say this, if I'm going to hear this for the rest of my days, I'm okay. Like, you don't need to do that. Maybe I'll get married in 10 years again and get a Veroing. But if that's going to be held against me or going to be brought up every single time, I don't think that's something healthy for you. So that's just something that we have to be mindful of. I'll read on. More often than not, this is a generous gift, and that's great. But if there are some ties to it, oh, I said this earlier. Like maybe they can decide on some aspects of the wedding. You will have to accept that and be at peace with that and be able to let go. I know it's easy to say, hard to do. Because what do you mean you can't have a 10-tiered cake for your 200 people wedding? Why not? Yeah, I'm going to get into this a little bit later. Well, it's not that you can't, but it's a good practice to investigate a little further why you want this. Is this a truly happy moment for you? Or is it because your friend did 9 tiers and you just want yours to be 10? So before I go on and read on, I just wanted to say that sometimes there is a deeper need that we have, and then it manifests as a want. So say, for example, I don't want to be too deep, but if I know this is mindful, but I want to make it light in a sense where you kind of still wrap your head around what I'm talking about. So that's the best example, the tiered cake, right? Is it because it's your friend from high school that you went to the wedding with, who is always trying to one up you, right? Like we all have this in high school, someone at workplace, I don't know who that person is, someone who always tries to one up you, or someone who's always, well, I can do this better, or well, I've already done that, or I've already went there, or that's what we did, don't do it. We always have that one person. So now sometimes what we want, right, is to be better and make that person feel like you are better than them. This is making sense. Stay with me. But that's what we think we want. But the need deep down is that we just have to accept that whatever we choose is best for us. And we haven't gotten there yet sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that. And I just felt like, wait, I just really have to accept myself. Like I haven't gone around it where whatever I choose is right for me. And I've been listening to the very people that I'm trying to impress that are also trying to one up me all the time. So I'm like, I'm going to get out of this whole cycle of like, I want to be better and I want to do this. I'm going to get out of the cycle and be just like, you know what? Maybe a 3-tier cake is really just what I wanted. And I shouldn't be scared if somebody comes up to me and say, so-and-so had a 9-tiered cake. How come you only had 3? Maybe that's my real fear, right? And so I want to avoid that. But really, my need is that I just have to accept that maybe 3 tiers is good for me. No, if you want 10 tiered, absolutely. Yes, 100%. Why not? If there's no other underlying want and need that's not being met, then yeah, my gosh, please. I'd love a 10 tier. Honestly, if you can go for 12, please go for 12. Nobody's stopping you. But it's just being mindful of like, what is that about is really important. Because do you really want to spend money on that to impress people that you don't even like to begin with? Right? Like you're impressing people that you're already annoyed just at just the thought of them. You're just like, I'm gonna get a 10-tiered cake because so-and-so got 9, right? And you know what? This is so unconscious of us because I do that too a lot. And so I have to stop. I'm just like, sometimes this is me being anxious. Like I don't want to hear about it when people comment on the cake or anything for that matter. I just don't want to hear any comments. So I try and not be a perfectionist, but I try and avoid all the questions by just like doing the best at every single thing. Where I think about it, I'm just like, well, what's the matter? I want a 3-tier cake. What is the freaking matter? Right? Like there's just, I want a 3-tiered cake, even if so-and-so had a 9-tiered cake. Good for them. I am happy for myself. This is my decision. I'm glad. I'm going to read on. Maybe you just want to send a piece of cake home as a wedding favor for your guests. That's cool too. What I'm saying here is to focus on what brings true joy and consider allocating funds for those experiences. How much money do you really want to spend on things without feeling resentful about that decision? How much time do you have to come up with the wedding money or pay it off? Define what it is about the priorities you have set that serve you and your partner's wedding vision better and focus your money on that. Also, yes, we love a 10-tiered cake. Please send us leftovers. If something really is important to you, I'd say spend money on it, right? Like in this economy, ma'am, sir, I'm pretty sure it's hard to say that. To just say, yeah, spend money on things you like. But that doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend thousands of dollars, right? But you have to spend something. I think that's sometimes pretty tricky because when someone says, you're spending so much money, what does that even mean, right? Like, what is so much money? Because that's your gauge. Like, nobody can tell you that. That's why it's called mindful budgeting, where it's for you. Like I would always want to hire a cleaner. Every time I'd be just like, I'm going to hire a cleaner. You know what? I can't. I keep cleaning. But I keep cleaning. Okay? And I would think about it. I'm just like, I keep cleaning and now I'm behind. Like I'm behind my content. I'm behind my writing. And I'm behind updating my clients. I'm behind things because I chose to clean. Did I like cleaning? No, not that much. I mean, I like after cleaning because everything looked clean. But I always think about if I should spend the money on a cleaner, right? Do I want to spend $60? I mean, I don't know where you guys are, but in our area, it's about 50 to 60. I probably will find 40, but I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say they're shady, but obviously you would want someone that really knows how to clean and also is trustworthy. So my wrap around that thought for me is that instead of spending $60 on a cleaner, why don't I spend money on a better vacuum, right? Why don't I spend money on a better air filter? Why don't I spend money on something else? So basically now I'm creating a system in where I don't want to clean, but I don't want to hire a person for $60 an hour to come and clean. So why don't I create better systems around me so that I can meet both needs? So now it becomes an investment instead of a cost. And I'm saying that so that you can just understand where I'm getting at, where that's the same with wedding, right? Like for a photographer, and this is what I always say. I know everybody want to cheap out on a photographer. I'm just like, oh no, I'm going to hire an upcoming photographer. Not to shade upcoming photographers because a lot of them are truly, truly amazing. But if memories are so important to you, right? Like maybe you can hire them for like the bachelorette or bridal shower, but there is just something about professionals, people that have done it. Like you got to understand if their cost is a little bit, not a little bit, but more expensive than the others, there's a reason why. There's a reason why they're being booked. There's a reason why being around them brings out the best in you. There's a reason why they can catch moments that no other photographers can, right? Like, so even if, say, for example, we're looking at, again, hypothetical numbers, $4,000, right? Is it mindful for me, right? For $4,000 for, let's say, 5 hours of coverage. Again, hypothetical, just throwing out a number there. Is it mindful for me to spend $4,000 on a photographer when I only have $15,000 of my wedding budget? Like, heck yeah. Right? Like, yes, because that's what's important to you. Is it important to feed people at your reception? Yes. But, and this is why, again, I think from chapter 1, what is your Northern Star, right? you want to add something there. If you put romantic, like you want to look back at your wedding, be just like, yeah, I was so beautiful on that day. Oh, not to shade our photographers when I got married so long time ago, but I'm just like, I was so beautiful that day and nobody captured it. Like, it was so mediocre. It was okay, but like, I just knew I was so radiant, so beautiful. Just, I was like really the epitome of beauty on that day. But nothing was captured. Like, the photos did not reflect that, but I felt beautiful. So after the wedding, I wanted to recreate our wedding photos with like our engagement photos. And I had to hire a real professional and spend so much money. Well, not so much money, but spend money because I had to buy a new dress. I had to get the bouquet. I had to get my makeup and hair done. But I was so happy. And I'm just like, it captured the beauty, it captured our style. It was just so romantic. I'm not saying you can do that. I mean, you can do that too. That might be a great idea for you too. But at that time, I cheaped out on something that I knew was important to me because I wasn't thinking, right? I thought that it was important to have filet mignon or salmon at the late night buffet. I thought that was really important. That not that it wasn't. But do I really need to serve salmon at the late night buffet? I mean, probably not. I mean, we could have gotten away with some pastries, right? But I was really trying to please so many people and I want them to enjoy, which is I think really a good that's really my character. I would want to say I'm a nice person. But then to what detriment, right? So just look at your budget and be just like, this is really what's going to make me happy. I don't want to look back 3, 5, I mean, even 10 years and like, yeah, it really sucks. Like, I wish we have gotten more moments. I could have, I wish our photographer caught more moments that were really special to me. I wish our photographer really showed how beautiful I was on that day, right? So just really being mindful or when the money is going. Because even if there's a big chunk that you're dedicating towards something that is really important to you and that will bring you joy. Like when you look at your wedding album, really, okay? I'm gonna tell you the best example. If I look at my wedding album now, I'll be just like, bro, I don't look as pretty as I felt because I knew for a fact I was so pretty that day. I was just radiant, but it just wasn't there on the photos. And I had money to spend, but I didn't spend it wisely. I just spread out the money so thin, right? That I would say that a lot of things were mediocre at best. Okay. They're not bad at all. Again, it was decent, but everything was mediocre was okay, right? But I wanted special things. Not special things, but I wanted a lot of joy when I look back through those photos. And I unfortunately don't have that. And I had to recreate that. Of course, it's fun, but the magic isn't there. The moments are not there anymore. It's just the two of us. It was essentially an engagement photo afterwards. But it was great to know that someone can capture how beautiful I am. Someone can capture cute moments. Someone can capture nice scenery. It's just that's what brought me joy. And I didn't really stand up for it. I wasn't clear about that because I felt like people will judge me. So, what is it really that you're scared to be judged on? Maybe that's part of the reason why you don't want to put money on something because people be just like, that's ludicrous. Why are you spending $4,000 on a photographer for 5 hours? That's essentially about 800 an hour. Yeah, well, 800 an hour divided by the number of days over the rest of my life where I'm going to look at those photos, I would want to spend that money. I would want to invest it, right? Like these photos are going to go up the wall on my house and I'm probably going to send this to my children because they would want a photo of me and my husband to show their grandchildren on their, like, this is a lineage heirloom, right? Like that's what I always say. I feel like this is a lineage heirloom. Like you are going to pass it on. They would want to look at it. The next generation would be just like, oh my God, you are so beautiful. And don't think I have that with my wedding photos. I'm pretty sure people would be just like, yo, Maria, why are you looking somewhere else in your photos? And what is happening there? Why is it like the photo is just so weird? Like, it's like someone grabbed a camera and just took a photo of you. Like, there was nothing there. They were just like, oh my God, that was so romantic. That was so amazing. So, yes, please be mindful to where you put your money on, and not because other people think it's a waste of money, because it isn't. It's an investment for you and what brings you joy. And when you're happy, everybody around you will benefit from that happiness. So, to end this chapter, just make sure that when you are budgeting, use your North Star from earlier from chapter 1 and see which ones in this wedding vendor list that you have would you want to really bet on, right? Like, I'm going to bet that that photographer is going to capture so much that 4,000 over my lifetime is going to be so worth it, right? Or if a dress is so important to you, I'm going to look at this picture. I guess it's related to the photographer, but like, I'm going to look at myself in that dress and I felt so beautiful. It's like you're feeling it again. And you're hopeful, and all the romance and love, not just for your partner but yourself, comes rushing back. So important. Such an important feeling. Now, before I leave too, I don't want to say starve your guests. Don't give them enough food. Don't give them good food, because there's also creative ways of going around that, in where maybe you don't have to serve salmon like what I said earlier. Maybe chicken will work too, right? Now, to the vegan and the vegetarian, sure, you can give them salmon, but maybe everybody else can get chicken. Maybe you don't have to have this very, very special salad with this very, very special dressing, but you can give salad, right? Like, satisfy needs, satisfy people. Obviously, you don't want anyone going hangry around your wedding. We don't want that, but just decent enough so that everybody can be satisfied without you sacrificing what's really important to you, because that's where your money should really go. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Little Book of Mindful Wedding Planning series. Your comments, questions, and support mean the world to us. And I can't wait to hear from you in the comments section below. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you can never miss an episode. If you found today's episode valuable, please give it a thumbs up so it can reach more people. Thank you so much, lovelies. See you on the next episode. Bye!